We'll speak with him in just a few minutes. I want to give somebody another chance at our Hobica free money question of the day. It is 7360186, your chance to win $1, $2, or $300 in cash. Andrew, let's take caller number 5, 7360186 right now for your chance to win $1, $2, or $300 in cash. Also, I want to tell you about the Stanford case. We were talking, obviously, earlier in the hour with Lise Wheel. This is, and I'm thinking, is this one of those cases where when the media exploits the case, it's just taken out of, really blown out of proportion? Were these two both drunk, both inebriated, and both irresponsible, and just the guy is getting blamed? But then you start hearing the testimony from the eyewitnesses who are students at Stanford. And not just girls, but boys. And it was a boy that tackled him.
That tackled him as he was trying to run away.
As he was running away, leaving this young lady naked up against a dumpster in a dumpster area. After she had been violated, she was completely unconscious when he had sex with her. So I don't know how you can call that anything else than rape, which the jury did. But then the judge sentences him to such a, because God forbid it would ruin his whole life, right?
I read
in 20 minutes of his life, he's got to suffer. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's what basically people are saying. It's terrible.
I read the statement from the victim in the coverage. If you
powerful.
read the full thing, what he had done to her precisely, I won't get into details because it's just sickening. But what he did is just disgusting, and the effect that this had on her 6 months is just, it's a slap in the face. Really is.
And he's getting probation. He'll probably spend 3 months in jail, maybe, or 6 months in jail. Probably 3 on good behavior, and he'll be on probation. Big deal. I mean, it's terrible. Now, I did get into it a bit with my wife last night because I do fear sometimes that the guy, especially if you're listening yesterday, like CNN, they were going on and on about this, and it's right. In this case, it's terrible. But I sometimes think the guy ends up always being blamed. And I also realize it's probably a conversation that I can't have because you always end up wrong. I certainly was wrong according to my wife. But my point is when both of them go out, they both get drunk. And my issue is when the female has consensual sex but realizes the next day, boy, I was bombed. I never would have done that if I wasn't bombed. And then says she was taken advantage of. I don't think that's fair. But obviously, if she's unconscious,
no, I agree.
There's
with
not
what
even
you're
a
saying.
question. There's not even if she's unconscious.
Yeah.
But I think we can also take it too far the other way, which is not fair. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you. Yes.
You do?
I
Call
do.
my wife. Could you talk to her about it?
What is her? Andrew, get her on the phone.
Get her on the line, Andrew. 'Cause it was rough, and it's just this. This conversation is a rough conversation for any guy to have. But
it is.
It is a tough one.
This is just me saying this. I don't know how far you're willing. I don't think that it's a majority of the cases. I don't think it happens a lot, but I do think that can happen, what you're describing.
Yeah.
I don't know of a case that it's happened. I don't think, like I said, I don't think it happens all the time. But I do think that maybe that can happen.
Yeah.
I also, it has to be said, why do we want to get so drunk that you can't even walk? You can't, it's too dangerous now to do that. In this day and age, it is too dangerous. And maybe it's because I didn't go to a traditional party school. Of course, we dealt with issues where I went to school. There were overdoses, there were whatever.
Yeah, it's going to happen anywhere. Sometimes the schools that aren't, where you went and NYU, where it's completely, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
Go to these schools where there's nothing going on. They're out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And there's only one thing to do.
Right. We need to tell our young ones not to drink like that.
It's not just the ladies. Hey, you shouldn't drink that much because then you can't. It's the guys too.
Right.
Obviously, when you're so bombed, you can't make the decision between right and wrong. You can't use the alcohol as an excuse.
Correct.
Like that's part of this kid's excuse, saying, "Well, listen, he was bombed too." Well, she was unconscious.
She was unconscious, and
period. End of story.
Based on the witness, I read part of the witness summary of his testimony. What he was saying, basically, is that they saw this, and then the assailant in this case saw them, and that's when he got up and ran.
So he knows.
So he can make the decision
He knew
right
that it was
or wrong.
wrong. Right.
That's very interesting.
You know,
and then the dad coming out and saying, "Listen, for 20 minutes in his life, he's got to be a registered sex offender. The rest of his life, this is terrible." Are you kidding me?
That's the worst argument. What if he?
I can't even believe that father.
What if it
would
was
say
his
that.
daughter?
Right,
Remember?
or what if he like robbed a bank and killed someone?
Listen.
Like, hey, listen, he was in and out in 90 seconds. Now he's got to pay the rest of his life.
How
yeah.
how often do split decisions put people in prison for a long time? It
Right.
happens. It's usually a split decision that makes that is what I mean, you have to live with that split decision. Terrible case. This judge is in a lot of trouble. People want him gone. He's up for re-election, but he doesn't have an opponent. Somebody's got to start running there because they'd win in a second. Terrible, awful story. Anyway, George Phillips coming up in a second. And Andrew, do we have a contestant here? Let's do a little free money contest. From the Hilbica Law Firm, you get a chance to win $100, $200, or $300 in cash. On the line right now in Frankfort, New York. I believe our second Frankfurt contestant this morning.
Was the other one alien?
The other one was
maybe
alien.
it was alien. Good morning, Karen. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. All right, here you go. You ready? We're playing for Hilbica's money. Here we go.
$100.
Man, we are stuck on $100, but let's win it here. Okay, Karen, it's been a couple of, been almost a week that we've not had a winner. Here we go. Name the former U.S. president who was just, let me rephrase that. Name the former U.S. president who was inducted into the Colorado Ski Hall of Fame in 2001. Ready? Go.
George Bush.
I'm going to go with George Bush. Is it George Bush? Yeah, you want to pick again? It's let's say this: it's the former president. We all modern day times. Remember, he was inducted in 2001. The former president, we all just kind of forget about.
Carter.
No, people are angry with Carter, but there's one that we kind of just forget about. You're close, Gerald Ford.
Oh, all right.
Was he a big skier?
Gerald Ford was an amazing athlete. Really, I mean, he was known. Chevy Chase portrayed him as this bumbling guy falling down the stairs, and he did have a couple of falls. But Gerald Ford was a great athlete. So, all right, well, there you go, Karen. We're going to give you dinner for two anyway, though. Okay.
Thank you.
Sit tight, Andrew. We'll hook you up. George Phillips coming up next. Here's Christine.